The small tattoo on Captain Elena Ward's forearm drew snickers from her fellow SEAL candidates. Phantom Echo seemed like just another pilot with delusions of grandeur. But when General Harrison spotted the ink during inspection, his face went white as snow. Some symbols carry weight that can silence entire rooms. The Naval Special Warfare Training Center at Coronado buzzed with the intensity that only the world's most elite military training could generate. The SEAL qualification program pushed candidates beyond human limits, separating those who merely wanted to be warriors from those who were born for it. Captain Elena Ward, call sign Phantom Echo, moved through the facility with the fluid grace of someone who belonged in dangerous places. Her enigmatic presence had been noted by instructors and fellow candidates alike since her arrival 6 weeks earlier. The tattoo that drew ridicule was deceptively simple. A small geometric design on Elena's left forearm that looked more like abstract art than military insignia. To her fellow candidates, it seemed like the kind of meaningless decoration that civilians got to look tough. "Check out the pretty picture," sneered Lieutenant Commander Brooks during their morning briefing. "Did you get that at a strip mall tattoo parlor, Ward?" The laughter that followed was cruel but predictable, the kind of hazing that elite military units used to test psychological resilience. Elena's response was characteristically understated, a slight smile that suggested she knew something they didn't. "It's just a reminder," she said quietly, her voice carrying an accent that was hard to place. "Sometimes the most important things are hidden in plain sight." Her calm response only seemed to encourage more mockery from candidates who interpreted her restraint as weakness. They had no way of knowing that Elena Ward was not her real name, that Phantom Echo was more than just a call sign, and that the tattoo they mocked was recognition of achievements that officially didn't exist. Elena's personnel file was remarkably thin for someone with her apparent skills. Listed as a Navy pilot with specialized training, her record contained gaps that suggested classified operations and redacted missions that couldn't be discussed in normal military circles. Her instructors had noted her exceptional performance, but couldn't explain how a pilot had acquired ground combat skills that exceeded those of seasoned special operations veterans. Her marksmanship scores were off the charts. Her tactical thinking was innovative to the point of being revolutionary, and her physical conditioning suggested training regimens that went far beyond standard military programs. The morning's live fire exercise was designed to test candidates under extreme stress, using live ammunition and realistic scenarios that simulated actual combat conditions. Elena moved through the course with an efficiency that bordered on supernatural, her movement so fluid and precise that she seemed to anticipate threats before they appeared. "Jesus Christ," muttered Instructor Chief Petty Officer Martinez as he watched Elena navigate a complex urban warfare scenario. "She's moving like she's done this 1,000 times before." Elena's performance was flawless. Every shot found its target. Every movement served a tactical purpose. And every decision demonstrated the kind of combat instinct that couldn't be taught in any school. She completed the course in record time while maintaining perfect accuracy, a combination that should have been impossible. "Ward," Martinez called out as Elena finished the exercise, "where did you learn to shoot like that?" Elena's response was characteristically enigmatic. "Practice, Chief. lots and lots of practice. But Martinez had been training special operations personnel for 15 years, and he recognized something in Elena's performance that went beyond conventional military training. Her techniques were too refined, too specialized, too perfect for someone with her official background. The afternoon brought the long-range marksmanship test, where candidates had to engage targets at distances that challenged both equipment and human capability. The course required hitting targets at 800, 1,000, and 1,200 meters, using standard military rifles under varying wind and weather conditions. Elena approached the firing line with the same calm confidence that had characterized all her performances. She spent several minutes studying wind patterns and atmospheric conditions, making calculations that seemed to involve factors that other candidates hadn't considered. "Target 1, 800 meters," announced the range officer. Elena's first shot was perfect, dead center of the target. Her second shot, at 1,000 meters, was equally precise. But it was her third shot, at the maximum range of 1,200 meters, that left everyone speechless. The bullet found its mark with surgical precision, hitting the target's center ring despite wind conditions that should have made such accuracy impossible. 42 seconds for 3 targets, the range officer announced, his voice carrying a note of disbelief. "That's a new course record." The other candidates stared at Elena with a mixture of awe and suspicion, beginning to understand that they were in the presence of someone whose abilities exceeded normal human parameters. The day's final test involved aerial combat simulation, where candidates had to demonstrate tactical thinking and decision-making under the stress of simulated air-to-air combat. The exercise used advanced flight simulators that replicated the experience of flying high-performance military aircraft. Elena's performance in the simulator was unlike anything the instructors had ever seen. She executed maneuvers that pushed the simulated aircraft beyond its normal operational parameters, using tactics that seemed to defy conventional wisdom about aerial combat. "She's flying like she's actually been in combat," observed Lieutenant Colonel Hayes, the program's senior instructor. "Those aren't textbook maneuvers. They're innovations born from real experience." Elena's simulated dogfight lasted 18 minutes and resulted in the destruction of 6 enemy aircraft without taking any damage to her own plane. Her tactics were so unconventional that the computer simulation had difficulty processing some of her maneuvers. "Ward," Hayes said, as Elena emerged from the simulator, "I need to ask you something directly. Have you flown combat missions before?" Elena's response was the same enigmatic smile that had frustrated her critics throughout the program. "I've flown in many places, sir. Some of them were more interesting than others." As Elena's exceptional performance continued throughout the training program, her fellow candidates and instructors began to suspect that there was more to her background than her official records indicated. Her skills were too refined, her tactical knowledge too advanced, and her psychological composure too perfect for someone with her stated experience. "There's something she's not telling us," Lieutenant Commander Brooks confided to his training partner during a break between exercises. "Nobody gets that good without serious combat experience, and her file says she's just a pilot." The speculation about Elena's true background became a constant topic of conversation among the candidates, with theories ranging from classified special operations to foreign military service. But Elena herself remained as enigmatic as ever, deflecting questions with humor and maintaining the professional distance that kept her secret safe. Instructor Martinez had begun conducting his own informal investigation, comparing Elena's techniques to classified databases of special operations methods. What he found troubled him. Elena was using tactics that appeared in highly classified manuals that were restricted to the most elite units in the military. "Chief," he told his supervisor, "I think we need to run a deeper background check on Ward. Something doesn't add up." Chief Petty Officer Martinez's investigation into Elena's background hit classified walls at every turn. Her personnel file contained gaps that suggested involvement in operations that were above his security clearance, and several of her previous assignments were listed simply as special duty, with no additional details. "Sir," Martinez reported to Lieutenant Colonel Hayes, "Ward's background is more classified than anything I've ever seen. Half her service record is redacted, and the other half doesn't explain how she acquired her current skill set." Hayes had been having similar thoughts about Elena's mysterious capabilities. Her performance in training exercises was consistently superior to candidates with much more extensive combat experience, and her tactical innovations suggested exposure to advanced military techniques that weren't taught in conventional programs. "Martinez," Hayes said carefully, "I want you to stop digging into Ward's background. If her records are that heavily classified, there's a reason for it, and it's above our pay grade to know what that reason is." But Hayes made a mental note to contact higher headquarters about Elena's presence in the program. If she was operating under deep cover or had been assigned to the SEAL program for reasons beyond normal qualification, he needed to know. The training exercise that would change everything began as a routine live-fire scenario designed to test candidates' ability to work as a team under extreme stress. The exercise involved rescuing simulated hostages from a fortified position while under fire from multiple directions. Elena's squad was pinned down by simulated enemy fire when the exercise took an unexpected turn. A mechanical malfunction in one of the training devices created a real explosion that injured two candidates and trapped them in a burning building. "This is not a drill," shouted Instructor Martinez as real smoke began pouring from the training facility. "We have casualties and a real fire." While other candidates hesitated, unsure whether this was part of the exercise or a genuine emergency, Elena moved with the decisive action of someone who had faced real combat situations. She assessed the tactical situation in seconds and began coordinating a rescue operation with the efficiency of a seasoned special operations leader. "Brooks, Williams, establish a perimeter," Elena commanded, her voice carrying an authority that made the other candidates respond automatically. "Martinez, Rodriguez, you're with me. We're going in to get our people." Elena's rescue of the trapped candidates was executed with a precision and courage that left no doubt about her true capabilities. She led her improvised team into the burning building, navigating through smoke and debris with the confidence of someone who had operated in similar conditions before. "There!" Elena called out, spotting the two injured candidates trapped beneath a collapsed training prop. "Rodriguez, help me lift this beam. Martinez, check their injuries." The rescue operation required Elena to expose herself to significant danger, crawling through a partially collapsed section of the building to reach the trapped candidates. Her movements were calculated and efficient, demonstrating the kind of tactical thinking that could only come from real combat experience. "I've got them," Elena reported as she helped carry the first injured candidate to safety. "Both are conscious and mobile with assistance." The successful rescue was witnessed by dozens of training personnel and candidates, all of whom recognized that they had just seen something extraordinary. Elena's leadership under pressure, her tactical expertise, and her willingness to risk her own safety for others had revealed capabilities that went far beyond anything in her official record. As the emergency responders took over care of the injured candidates, Elena quietly returned to her position in the training formation as if nothing unusual had happened. General Harrison's visit to the Naval Special Warfare Training Center was supposed to be a routine inspection, the kind of high-level review that elite military units receive periodically to ensure standards were being maintained. The three-star general had commanded Special Operations Forces for over 2 decades and had seen the best that the military had to offer. "Gentlemen," Lieutenant Colonel Hayes announced to the assembled candidates, "General Harrison will be observing today's training exercises. I expect your best performance." Elena stood in formation with the other candidates, her posture perfect and her expression neutral as the general began his inspection. She had encountered senior officers before, but something about Harrison's bearing suggested that he was more than just another visiting dignitary. Harrison moved down the line of candidates with the practiced eye of someone who could assess military personnel with a single glance. He paused briefly at each candidate, asking pointed questions about their background and performance in the program. When Harrison reached Elena, his routine inspection took an unexpected turn. His eyes fell on the small tattoo on her forearm, the geometric design that had been the source of so much mockery from her fellow candidates. The general's expression changed instantly, his face going pale as recognition dawned. The casual inspection posture disappeared, replaced by something approaching shock as he stared at the seemingly innocent marking on Elena's arm. "Where did you get that tattoo?" General Harrison asked, his voice carrying a tension that made everyone within earshot stop what they were doing. Elena met the general's gaze steadily, her expression revealing nothing about the significance of his question. "It's a personal reminder, sir. Nothing more." But Harrison's reaction suggested that the tattoo was far more significant than Elena was admitting. The general studied the design with the intensity of someone trying to solve a complex puzzle, his military bearing giving way to something approaching awe. "That's not just any tattoo," Harrison said quietly, his voice barely audible to the other candidates. "That's the mark of the Ghost Squadron." The words hung in the air like a revelation that changed everything about how Elena was perceived. The Ghost Squadron was legendary within special operations circles, a unit so classified that most military personnel weren't even sure it existed. "Sir," Elena said carefully, "I'm not sure what you're referring to." But Harrison was no longer listening to her words. He was staring at the tattoo with the expression of someone who had just encountered a living legend. The Ghost Squadron had been responsible for some of the most successful and classified operations in recent military history, and their members were considered to be the elite of the elite. slowly, deliberately. General Harrison came to attention and rendered a formal salute to Elena, his action sending shock waves through everyone present. The general's salute created a moment of stunned silence that seemed to stretch for eternity. Every candidate, every instructor, and every support personnel member who witnessed the scene understood that they had just seen something unprecedented, a three-star general saluting a candidate in a training program. "Ladies and gentlemen," Harrison announced, his voice carrying across the training area, "you are in the presence of one of the finest special operations personnel this country has ever produced." Elena's carefully maintained cover was completely blown, but her response was characteristically composed. "General, with respect, I'm just here to complete the SEAL qualification program like everyone else." Harrison's laugh was filled with genuine admiration. "Captain Ward, or should I say, Major Wren, you've been operating at a level that most of these candidates will never reach, even if they complete the program successfully." The revelation that Elena was actually a major operating under an assumed identity explained everything about her exceptional performance. Her real name was Eliza Wren, and she was a member of the Ghost Squadron, the military's most classified special operations unit. "The tattoo," Harrison explained to the assembled group, "is awarded only to operators who have completed missions that officially never happened. Major Wren has served in places that don't exist on any map, fighting enemies that the public will never know about." The mockery that had followed Elena throughout the training program was replaced by a respect that bordered on reverence as everyone present understood that they were in the presence of military legend. With her cover blown by General Harrison's recognition, Elena, now revealed as Major Eliza Wren, faced the challenge of explaining her presence in a training program that was far below her actual qualifications and experience level. "Major Wren," Lieutenant Colonel Hayes said, his voice mixing respect with confusion, "I have to ask, why are you here? Your qualifications clearly exceed anything we could teach you in this program." Elena's response revealed the complexity of her situation and the reasons behind her mysterious assignment to the SEAL qualification course. "Colonel, I'm here because the Ghost Squadron is being disbanded. Our operations have become too sensitive, too classified, and too politically dangerous for continued existence." The explanation sent ripples of understanding through the assembled personnel. The Ghost Squadron's missions had been so successful and so classified that they had become a liability in an era where military operations faced increasing scrutiny and oversight. "My assignment here," Elena continued, "is to transition into conventional special operations while maintaining operational security about my previous missions. The SEAL program represents the closest equivalent to my previous training and experience." General Harrison's revelation about Elena's true identity transformed the training program overnight. Instead of being just another candidate, she became an unofficial instructor whose experience and expertise could benefit the entire program. "Major Wren," Harrison said, "I'm authorizing you to share appropriate techniques and tactics with the other candidates. Your experience could save lives in future operations." Elena's integration into the instructional staff was seamless, her teaching methods combining theoretical knowledge with practical experience that came from real combat operations. The candidates who had mocked her tattoo, now hung on her every word, understanding that they were receiving training from someone who had operated at the highest levels of special operations. The key to survival in special operations, Elena told the candidates during an impromptu tactical briefing, is not just physical capability or technical skill. It's the ability to adapt, to think creatively under pressure, and to never give up on your mission or your teammates. With Elena's true identity revealed, the training program was elevated to a level that had never been achieved before. Her techniques and tactics, developed through years of classified operations, were incorporated into the curriculum with appropriate security modifications. What Major Wren is teaching you, General Harrison told the candidates, represents the cutting edge of special operations methodology. These techniques have been proven in combat situations that you'll never read about in any official report. Elena's instruction covered everything from advanced marksmanship techniques to psychological operations, from unconventional warfare tactics to survival in hostile environments. Her teaching was enhanced by real-world examples that, while classified in their specifics, provided invaluable insights into the realities of special operations. The candidates responded to Elena's instruction with enthusiasm and dedication that exceeded anything their previous instructors had seen, understanding that they were receiving training that could mean the difference between life and death in future operations. The program's final exercise was redesigned to incorporate Elena's advanced techniques and to test the candidates' ability to apply what they had learned from her instruction. The scenario involved a complex hostage rescue operation that required coordination between multiple teams and the application of unconventional tactics. This exercise, Elena briefed the candidates, will test everything you've learned, not just in this program, but from our additional training sessions. You'll face situations that require creative thinking, adaptive tactics, and absolute trust in your teammates. The exercise was more challenging than anything the program had previously attempted, incorporating elements of psychological warfare, advanced reconnaissance, and precision combat operations that reflected the realities of modern special operations. Elena served as both observer and emergency instructor, providing guidance when candidates encountered situations beyond their experience while allowing them to develop their own solutions to complex tactical problems. The candidates' performance in the final exercise exceeded all expectations, demonstrating that Elena's instruction had elevated their capabilities to levels that approached those of veteran special operations personnel. "Outstanding," General Harrison commented as he observed the exercise. These candidates are performing at a level that typically requires years of operational experience. The success of the exercise validated Elena's teaching methods and demonstrated the value of incorporating real-world experience into training programs. The candidates who completed the program would enter operational units with skills and knowledge that far exceeded those of previous SEAL classes. "Major Wren," Harrison told Elena as the exercise concluded, "you've not only successfully transitioned from classified operations to conventional special operations, but you've revolutionized our training methodology in the process." The program's graduation ceremony was attended by senior officers from across the special operations community, all of whom had heard about the revolutionary training methods that had been developed under Elena's guidance. Today, General Harrison addressed the graduating candidates. You join the ranks of naval special warfare with capabilities that have been enhanced by training from one of the finest special operations personnel this country has ever produced. Elena received formal recognition for her contributions to the program, but more importantly, she had successfully transitioned from her classified role in the Ghost Squadron to a new career in conventional special operations. The tattoo that had once been mocked was now understood as a symbol of the highest levels of military achievement, and Elena's story became legendary within the special operations community as an example of how exceptional personnel could adapt and contribute even when their original missions came to an end. Elena's influence on the Naval Special Warfare Training Center extended far beyond her single class of candidates. Her teaching methods and tactical innovations were incorporated into the permanent curriculum, revolutionizing how special operations personnel were trained across all branches of the military. The REN protocols became standard training methodology, emphasizing adaptive thinking, creative problem-solving, and the integration of unconventional tactics with traditional special operations techniques. Training programs worldwide began requesting copies of the curriculum modifications that Elena had developed. Most importantly, Elena's story demonstrated the value of experience-based instruction and the importance of learning from personnel who had operated at the highest levels of classified operations. Her transition from the Ghost Squadron to conventional special operations became a model for how elite personnel could continue to serve even when their original units were disbanded for security reasons. Elena's successful transition from classified operations to conventional special operations earned her recognition as one of the military's most effective instructors and tactical innovators. She was promoted to lieutenant colonel and assigned to develop advanced training programs for special operations forces worldwide. Her story inspired other personnel who had served in classified roles to pursue careers in training and instruction. Understanding that their experience could benefit future generations of special operations personnel, the military began actively recruiting former classified operators for training roles, recognizing the value of their real-world experience. Elena continued to serve with distinction, eventually establishing her own training facility that specialized in preparing special operations personnel for the most challenging missions. Her methods were studied and emulated by military forces around the world, and her influence on special operations training continued long after her retirement from active duty. The small tattoo that had once been a source of mockery became a symbol of the highest levels of military achievement and the importance of recognizing excellence regardless of its source. Elena's story proved that true capability often came disguised as something ordinary, and that the most valuable personnel were sometimes those whose achievements couldn't be publicly acknowledged. Her legacy lived on in the thousands of special operations personnel who were trained using her methods, and in the understanding that the military's most effective instructors were often those who had operated in the shadows, serving their country in ways that would never be fully known or appreciated by the public they protected.